Hello and welcome to Fenro's e-learning on knowledge management. My name is Petra Heroth. I'm a trainer and consultant for knowledge management and organizational learning, experience, capitalization, and resilience. This is one of our 3 e-learning videos on knowledge management. And we start with the basics of knowledge management. Being understanding and definitions, what is actually knowledge and knowledge management. KM is knowledge management. You find that throughout the e-learning video. I will share with you some models and frameworks, how organizations live knowledge management in a systematic and integrated way. And I will share with you some ideas on how to start with your knowledge management in an integrated way, or how to do an assessment as an organization on your status quo of knowledge management. We start by taking a closer look on what is actually knowledge to avoid misunderstandings that easily happen when you talk about knowledge management. Knowledge management is not the same like data and information. Databases and information flow are related with knowledge and knowledge management. However, knowledge is actually created and information applied and put into a context. So knowledge is basically related to people, to their practice, and is based on the data and information that is there, that is applied. But, and this is something important, knowledge is subjective because it is something that is related to me as a person or to your colleague as a person, and it is about experiencing how you do the things and related to your practice. Knowledge is a key resource and a key value for organizations, and I will share with you the why it is important and how you can manage this valuable source and resource for your organization. At knowledge management, we define knowledge as either explicit knowledge or tacit implicit knowledge. The explicit part is the smallest part, as you see here, this iceberg model that you might know from other theories. It shows that the explicit one is what the structured and codified knowledge that lives in handbooks, manuals, books, checklists, and of course in the heads of yourself and your staff members. This explicit part is the smallest part of knowledge that exists in your organization and beyond. The biggest part lives in the people themselves, in their practice. This is the know-how, how people do their job. Be it your accountant in the project, how she is applying, using the accounting system is tacit, implicit knowledge that lives in your accountant's practice. And this biggest part, the tacit knowledge, also called the experiences, this is for some organizations and for their projects, for their success, a very valuable resource, or as I call it, a treasure. So you see here, one of my logos is like a treasure, a shell that is hidden in your organizations, in your teams, in your staff members' practices. And this tacit knowledge, the know-how and experience is like a treasure that you can use to improve your projects, to improve your efficiency as an organization. And I will share with you in the course of the different e-learning videos on this topic how you can capitalize and capture these experiences to make them accessible and usable. We close these basics with a definition on knowledge management that I, myself, and my colleagues in the academy, where I also work, use when it comes to knowledge management. It is for us a targeted, integrated, and systematic approach to identify, acquire, so make it accessible, create, share, apply, and capture knowledge that is relevant to achieving the specific objectives of an organization. So you see, knowledge management is not something that you do because you think it might make fun or because some other organization or donor has told you that it's now on vogue or it's you need to do that to be an innovative organization. Knowledge management, how I understand it and how I use it for organizational development, is related to the specific objectives of an organization. So it is targeted. It is integrated, means that the knowledge that you manage, that you use, you define it clearly. What is it that you need to achieve your objectives? And how is that knowledge used and shared and applied and captured? So this is the integrated part, and systematic means that you follow a clear process on how you manage knowledge. And I will share with you in this e-learning what type of frameworks organizations can use to apply an integrated and systematic approach to manage their knowledge. For some, it is easier to classify knowledge in three areas. So I share this with you. It might help you or your teams to clarify and find out what type of knowledge is it actually that we need to manage, to capture, to share. In knowledge management, we say that one part is the human knowledge, which is your colleagues, your staff, and team members. And this human knowledge is leaving your organization every evening. So you are dependent that your staff members come back tomorrow and next week with their knowledge. And this is also a risk factor for some organizations. Well, when one person has a lot of knowledge and experiences on a specific topic, and the risk is there that this person might not come back to work because of certain health issues or because of a decision that he or she would like to leave the organization, that could be a risk if this experience and knowledge is not captured at a certain stage. Then we call the explicit knowledge codified knowledge, as I said previously. This codified, structured, explicit knowledge remains in the company or in your organization when people leave. It remains because you have brought it into a structure, you have captured it and codified it. You might produce a checklist of what is necessary to be done when it comes to project accounting. Or you might have a handbook, a manual telling or summarizing how you do a project evaluation, for example. So this is codified knowledge, and this remains when your people leave the organization. And one part that sometimes organizations neglect is that there is also a lot of knowledge to be found outside of your organization. This is the external knowledge, and a lot of it is relevant for your operations, for your projects. And depending on your size as an organization, you might have and develop and capture a lot of knowledge yourself inside, but you have your networks, your relationship with expert organizations or even external consultants, where a lot of expertise and knowledge is found. in a codified way or in a tacit way, meaning that it is the consultant and has a knowledge relevant for you, and you can integrate and use this knowledge with certain activities as well. So these three types of knowledge is how I work and also evaluate knowledge management in organizations, and also use this structure to further develop or establish the management of knowledge. When it comes to knowledge management within an organization, an integrated approach would mean that you not only look at your projects where you find your experts with their experiences and their tacit knowledge, or you only look at the IT systems where you share your evaluation reports or your experience documents. This is where normally organizations start when they think and talk about knowledge management. Integrated knowledge management, however, means that you also look at, on a very general level, general knowledge management means that even in your organizational strategy and in your organizational culture and how you live leadership, how your management, your leaders fulfill their role, that has a lot to do with knowledge and knowledge management. And integrating knowledge management into the whole organization means that the knowledge as a resource for your organization should also be related to your overall strategy, your organizational mission, and the culture that you live. Then you integrate it, and you can use the full potential of knowledge within your organization. Collaboration, of course, is key and is normally at the center of an organization, especially within the nonprofit organization, because they work project-based. So collaboration, how you collaborate to implement projects, to work together as a team in one region or in one department, that is where knowledge flows, where it is created. Whenever you develop a new project on a topic, let's say water and sanitation, you create new knowledge because the context you find in one country where you implement the project might lead to new challenges. So you need to find new solutions, and there you create knowledge. You collect a lot of experience, like treasures, in your project teams. And knowledge management at this collaborative level means to find ways to share, to create, to capture, and reuse, apply the knowledge that is there, and find processes and structures to do so. At the e-learning video on capitalizing experiences within project work, we will have a closer look on this, and I will share with you methods and ways to do so. Another level where integrated knowledge management should have a look is the very personal way how your colleagues and staff members, or even you yourself, manage knowledge. That means, how does a person actually save contact information, contact details for the relations they have and need for their work? Or how do you save and structure your documents on your server or SharePoint? Which structure do you follow? Or how do you search for experience and new knowledge on a topic? Do you use your internal intranet, or do you go for a Google search or any other communities out there on social media or in the web? So this personal knowledge management, how a person searches and creates and shares knowledge, has influence on your organizational knowledge management. So I invite you and I advise you to not forget the very individual habits of your colleagues to search, create, share, and apply knowledge. It also is related, of course, to creativity and innovation. How much space do you give your colleagues to be innovative, to create new knowledge? Where do your colleagues find this space? And how much is left to their own motivation to be creative, to be innovative, and how much is actually regulated or organized and offered from your side. Another model and framework for knowledge management is the so-called KM4D model. KM4D stands for Knowledge Management for Development. This model has been developed by experts from the development cooperation and knowledge management field, and it combines. Here on the left-hand side, you find the knowledge cycle that I have already shared with you in my definition for knowledge management, from finding to acquiring, creating, sharing, using, and capturing knowledge. So the knowledge life cycle is related to your knowledge assets. And assets sometimes at an association level or non-profit organizational level, we don't talk about assets. However, we as an association or as an organization, we need our staff members. So we have human assets, human resources, as we call it, with their education, their skills, and their experiences. So remember, the human knowledge here, it's called human assets. And also the structure assets, meaning your infrastructure as an organization, your IT systems, the hardware, the software, all the structures that you offer, and also the relationship, the relationship within your networks, the external knowledge. This is related to key knowledge services and products. And here you might be a bit confused why we talk about products. Basically, this is a classification in knowledge management to say when we work with knowledge in a systematic way, we work with either knowledge services, meaning this is an activity where people are offering some service, something like a meeting or a training or a consulting or communication on a specific topic, be it an online community meeting, be it a big conference on an important knowledge area or topic for your work. This is a service, and this is a knowledge service in our definition is related with human involvement. And a knowledge product is basically any codified structure or document where knowledge is made accessible and brought into a structure that is shareable. And this can be different knowledge products. It can be a data sheet, it can be an information sheet, it can be publications, manuals, etc. So these are the processes, and this KM4D model focuses here on the knowledge services and products. However, you could also relate the knowledge lifecycle and your key knowledge assets to your very general organizational processes, to the program work that you do, or to your human resource processes that you have, etc. So the processes here can be defined on a very broad range. The model itself says that knowledge is related to your assets and to your key processes. And in the long term, knowledge is needed and is highly related and contributing to sustainable development. Development on a very general national level national development goals. It can either be sectoral development, agricultural development. In an East African context, for example, you need specific knowledge on a specific level to change, to produce impact, and also citizen development, for example. So this is a broad model where it can be seen as a value chain of knowledge from the knowledge life cycle to sustainable development. And you see here on top, you need leadership and governance and culture, as I said previously, to implement and guide knowledge work. And of course, knowledge work, like any other project work or business activity, needs monitoring, reporting, and learning. Why is that? Well, to do knowledge work, you need resources, you need time, and you need money. And if I cannot monitor and prove that the investment, the money spent on knowledge work, on knowledge management, is leading to an impact, to a contribution to the quality of our work that we do in agricultural development in West Africa, then it will be hard in the long run to get funding and money and resources for your knowledge management. And of course, we want to learn out of what we do. So if in one period of time we offer conferences for specific topics, and we do an after-action review, meaning we review how have we implemented our conference, what worked well, what did not work well, then we learn, we take the recommendations, and we also improve our knowledge services and the knowledge management itself. Now I invite you to digest what you just heard and do a short assignment, a reflection work on your knowledge management and your organizational framework for it and context of it. And the assignment is the following. This is an invitation. You're not forced to do it. However, this helps you to find out how knowledge management is actually related to what you do as an organization. And by that, I invite you to summarize for yourself or make clear what are actually your core organizational processes, services, or even products. You might have a product. And this is the very general, or the projects that you offer, or the products that you might offer, like e-learning courses on specific topics or trainings on specific sectors. And then discuss maybe with some colleagues or reflect on your own, how is knowledge management linked to these processes and services and products? What knowledge is actually crucial for your success as an organization? Is it the experience of your colleagues? Is it the codified structural knowledge in handbooks or in manuals, in checklists, and in your wikis? Or is it external knowledge that is crucial and relevant for the success of your organization? So try to think of the different knowledge that I offered to you as a structure. And also reflect on the following question. What can knowledge management contribute to achieving your organizational objectives, your strategic objectives, or if you have them, your key performance indicators or your success indicators? So on the impact side, on what is your objective, what do you want to achieve, try to reflect on what can knowledge management contribute, or how is knowledge management related to our success indicators or performance indicators. To summarize integrated knowledge management, I, based on my experience, can share the following with you. Integrated knowledge management needs clear objectives and monitoring. You cannot assume that your staff is doing knowledge management in an integrated way if you don't have a clear objective where our journey go when it comes to knowledge management. You can easily get lost in this huge jungle of options because there is so much knowledge out there in your organization, in your teams, and in your projects that you and your colleagues can get lost easily and become demotivated if you don't have a clear objective and you monitor what you do. Make sure that you clarify with your team or on a very high organizational strategic level which knowledge is actually relevant. That makes your life easier in knowledge management, and make sure that there is clarity on who is having which role and responsibility for knowledge management and knowledge work. And of course, there needs to be budget and resources. Like for any other activity, the knowledge management and knowledge work needs to be reflected in the budget of your organization or of your organization and project structures. And something that most of organizations actually underestimate is that now in 2024 and the period of time, we are all doing knowledge work. There is a lot of knowledge out there, and we want our staff members, our colleagues, to use their knowledge in an efficient way, to share it and capture it in an efficient way. And this needs skills. And these skills, you can also take care as an organization to develop them if they are not there, and find out in your regular staff appraisal meetings or interviews what your colleagues need to do efficient knowledge work. And of course, top management, if possible, even your board of directors, need to understand fully why knowledge management is relevant and really crucial for the success of your organization. And that is why in my first assignment, the invitation is to reflect on what is the contribution of knowledge management to our organizational processes and our impact that we want to achieve. And if possible, get a clear statement from your top management on knowledge management that supports you in your knowledge management work. Now, you might be in a point of time in your organization where you say, maybe you have never even called the work that you do knowledge management, or maybe you even have a clear position for a knowledge manager, and might even be you that is the knowledge manager of your organization or for your organization. I share with you two ways of how you can start or further get going with your knowledge management. And the very official way that I share with you here would require that you have a top management that is committed, and there is, the buy-in is already there. They understand that it's necessary, and they are willing to invest and put resources into knowledge management work. So you raise your staff awareness on knowledge work and knowledge management. You inform them about the relevance and use of knowledge and knowledge management, knowledge services, and you create a knowledge management team, a KM team, or you could even call it a KM, a knowledge management champions or promoters group. So a team might look like an official structure. You could even start by having a coordinator group who meets on knowledge management activities. But you need some people who dedicate some of their time to knowledge management work and to get started with knowledge management. And in a second step, once you have this very first structure and some resources to get going, you do a knowledge management assessment or audit. Means you assess the status quo of your knowledge management capacities, structures, and processes. You do a needs assessment or another assessment. I will share with you some methods and tools for that. And based on your status quo and your analysis, your assessment, you define a knowledge management mission a simple mission statement, or if you want to, you could even develop a short and clear knowledge management strategy out of your assessment, and a strategy and mission combined with a clear action mix. So you do your conceptualization of knowledge management. What do we understand on knowledge management? What knowledge is crucial? And what do we need to do? Which are our action areas? And streamline it with your strategies, with your organizational structures, processes, and cultures. This is crucial for, based on my experience, streamlining it means how you call it and where you integrate the roles, responsibilities for it, and the different activities needs to be integrated and streamlined into your organizational culture and wording and way of working. And develop a customized, that means an activity mix of long-term activities and quick wins. So activities where your staff members, your colleagues will, and your management also, will see an impact or a result on a very short term. A project plan, if you're project-based and you see to get funding, we want to develop a knowledge management project, this is also possible. Follow your project structures and decide who could finance or co-finance your knowledge management work, and then develop the project and implement it. And the implementation and further development is like with any other activity or project. You do it step by step, you monitor, evaluate, and adjust what you do. And of course, you roll out the activities that work well to the different staff members and departments and project teams. Now, if you are not in a position where you have the buy-in of your management or of your board of directors, and you don't have a budget to officially start with knowledge management, then you could also choose to do it the guerrilla way. The guerrilla way means that you start on a very low scale to just do it. You start activities on one or two topics where you think this is important. We need to do a short learning meeting within our program in, for example, West Africa, because there is the need to learn. So you do it and you build alliances with other colleagues that feel the same and see the same need to do knowledge management. Then once you have done it on a very small scale, you talk about it. So you tell the stories of your success and of what you have experienced by sharing knowledge or doing a knowledge and learning meeting, and by talking about the successful implementation of whatever you have tested and tried, you encourage others to follow your example, and you expand your alliances, and the group of people that are committed, that see the value added of knowledge management will grow, and you will have a knowledge management community sooner or later. And then it's the point in time where you need to coordinate these activities. And coordination also means that you need to find the knowledge management champions or promoters. So who are the ones who are willing to do some work, and who are the ones who are really willing to coordinate knowledge management, to develop it further and to institutionalize it. And those, we sometimes call them knowledge management champions or promoters. And you find this group and you start to convince top management and board of directors with your success stories of knowledge management and knowledge sharing and knowledge capturing, and how this leads to more efficiency or higher quality or less losing of staff members, whatever is your impact that you achieve with it. And the last step here in the guerrilla way is to institutionalize what you have been doing, and you institutionalize by having clear budget and resources and management support for an integrated and holistic knowledge management approach and you introduce structures and processes for knowledge management that are funded and staffed with resources to make it a sustainable approach on knowledge management. Now, this leads to our assignment number 2. I've just told you that to have the buy-in of your management is a crucial step. If you start it the official way, or if you start with the guerrilla way, at a certain point in time, you need success stories to convince your management that knowledge management is important and that it's a value added to your organizational success and impact. So I invite you to collect examples or stories of successful knowledge management within your organizations. If you are a big organization, there is different programs and projects and departments out there, and try to ask questions and find examples of knowledge management that leads to success or impact, and that illustrates the added value of knowledge management. If you don't find them inside your organization, then try to find them outside. You might be in networks with other colleagues and other organizations. There are FENRO communities of practice and meetings and trainings where you meet other organizations. So use this external knowledge in your networks and ask people, do you actually do knowledge management work? And if yes, could you share one success story or 2 success stories with me, or even do some internet research on knowledge management success stories? Collect at least 3 examples and present them or discuss them with your management or your team. The final part of this basic e-learning video on knowledge management is the assessment. Now, why should you do an assessment for knowledge management? Because if you don't know where you are lost and you don't know what you need to get going and develop further. So a knowledge management assessment has different objectives or goals. First of all, you evaluate where you stand, the current situation on knowledge management. By doing so, you discuss with your colleagues around knowledge work, and knowledge management. So you develop a common understanding of knowledge management. And of course, you identify where are your strengths and your weaknesses when it comes to knowledge management. You identify the most pressing needs to do knowledge work in a way that it contributes to your organizational success. And you discuss and define what are your priorities. So you focus on prioritized topics and you assess where is the priority, where is the highest impact with which knowledge management activity. And if you want to develop a knowledge management strategy, an assessment already delivers inputs for this strategy and feeds into a strategy for knowledge management. I share with you 3 options how you could do an assessment. All 3 options that I present to you, I have done myself. I have facilitated myself in various organizations, and I also offer guidance and facilitation for this type of knowledge management assessments. You could use the knowledge life cycle or the knowledge cycle that I have already explained to you, from finding knowledge to capturing or storing knowledge. And for each of these knowledge cycle areas, you do an assessment. A second option is that you do your assessment based on 9 different knowledge management areas. This is a self-assessment tool called the KM Capacity Self-Assessment, or CAST. And the 9 knowledge management areas where this self-assessment tool looks at is KM roles and responsibilities, a KM strategy, the KM awareness and capacity of the organization, systems and technologies, everything around IT and IT support for knowledge work, the institutional memory, external knowledge, internal knowledge sharing, reflection and learning from successes and failure, and measuring the results of knowledge management. The KM-CAST, this capacity self-assessment, has been developed by Walter Mansfield, and we are the organization where I've been working for 17 years. Horizont 3000 has adapted this KM-CAST self-assessment tool, and it is provided as a resource for you as a download. If you want to use it, you can download it and read up and find out more. And I give you an example. The self-assessment tool is structured in a way that for each of these 9 knowledge management areas, you have 5 levels. They are described like the level 1 is novice, level 2 is learner, level 3 is intermediate, level 4 is advanced, and level 5 is expert. I will not read all of it here because at the resource below the resources below this video, you find the whole guide on this self-assessment tool for knowledge management, and you can read there. But basically, you discuss and rate your organization based on this self-assessment. Where do we stand when it comes, for example, to KM roles and responsibilities? And a third option that is there and is out there, it is mainly used in, well, I've been using it in the German-speaking community, where it is called Wissensbilanz. In English, it's called Intellectual Capital Report. And this is a little bit like the knowledge management for development model. It is combining the value addition from knowledge to your results, financial results and non-financial results. And you classify the human capital, the structural capital, and the relationship capital. And you put there the knowledge goals in between and find out what different knowledges do you need and how is it related to your key processes as an organization. So this is an integrated way with clear guidance as a Wissensbilanz in the German community, the Intellectual Capital Report in the English-speaking community. I have not worked with it, but the knowledge management for development model is basically offering the same and a similar structure to evaluate knowledge work in relation to your organizational results and outputs. Well, this was the basics of knowledge management. I hope I could inspire you and contribute to a better understanding of what it actually means to do knowledge management in your organization. And I wish you a good start in understanding how knowledge management could be lived in your organization, to assess where you stand in your organization when it comes to knowledge work. And if you want to get further information or in-house trainings, or you need facilitation and consultancy on your knowledge management, you can contact me via an email, or you find further information on my website. Thank you for listening and for taking your time to learn more on knowledge management. All the best and bye-bye.